Hi, this is Arjuna Ardagh. This is a video response to an email that I got from Anne. And actually I wanted to apologize to you, Anne, because I think your response actually came, back in November. I'm really sorry. Somehow it got lost in the shuffle and it didn't only reach me now at the end of December. I really apologize for the delay. Anne, you said that you tried to respond on the site where the article was posted and you had difficulty. I really apologize for that. We're looking into why the capture code is not working as smoothly as it could be. Then you say, I hope you read this, but I do not expect a response. I did read your message today for the first time. I was very much touched and affected by what you wrote, and I really appreciate you writing it to me, so I absolutely want to respond to you. You say, in a general response to all subscribers, you sent a piece called What Can We Do in response to the terrorist attacks in Paris. Yeah, and if you're interested, there's another video I just made about why I saw a connection between terrorism and conscious masculinity. You seem to feel it necessary to remind us of our gender-identified roles in Western civilization. For men, he has a sense of mission and purpose. For women, how to support him. Okay. Well, actually, I'll tell you what, let me read a little more and then I'll respond, because I do understand what you're getting at and I sympathize with you, but I want to clarify. I've read through all of it and I must say this: you have a knack for reinforcing age-old stereotypes of gender expectations. Women are fed up with men who insist on real tasks, who insist our real tasks are still to be found in support roles for men and their grand plans: world domination, war, murder of millions of women and children, the slaughter of animals, the pollution of our rivers, lakes and oceans, etc., etc. No more. Okay, so Anne, although you have taken exception to what I wrote, actually we are more on the same team than you might realize. I absolutely agree with you that these kind of gender stereotypes have been extremely damaging, both to men and women, actually. To women, it's been obviously damaging because a woman's stereotype role was to stay at home, cook, clean, and not express her bigger gifts, her bigger mission, or her bigger destiny. And that was clearly limiting to women, and I think a lot of good things have been done to correct that, starting with Emmeline Pankhurst and her suffragette sisters 100 years ago claiming the right to vote. In the 70s, women claiming the right to participate in a financial system primarily created by men. And now, in the last decade, women actually realizing that they can redefine the game. So people like Tammy Simon at Sounds True and other women are creating businesses which are no longer run on testosterone, but which actually can be environments that are recreated by women. So women have done a tremendous amount. I'm not saying the battle is over. Women have done a tremendous amount to be able to express themselves more freely. I think it's also important to recognize that this gender stereotyping you refer to was also very limiting to men, because a man whose identity is restricted to going to war or working hard for a corporation and then frequently dropping dead within a few years of retiring, that was also very limiting. A man who didn't have connection with his children, who didn't know how to cook, that was also a limitation. So both men and women in their own way have been restricted and limited by the stereotyping you talk about. And I understand that the way that that's happened for men has had more damage in terms of, as you say, of world domination. I agree. Women have not dominated the world. War, I agree. Hardly any wars have been waged by women, perhaps only Margaret Thatcher and a few others. Murder of millions of women and children, I agree. Also mostly done by men. Slaughter of animals, okay, I agree. Pollution, etc. I agree that the masculine kind of go, do it temperament has had more destructive effect. The destructive power of women being limited has not been so much environmental, but in their creativity and what they had to offer, which also was a detriment to the environment. So I'm absolutely on the same page with you. This kind of stereotyping has been very limiting. At the same time, for about, I don't know, since 1970, so that's for about 45 years now. Started with 67 and move forwards, we've started to unravel all of this. Women have become much stronger and more forceful in becoming lawyers and judges and policemen and construction workers and doing whatever they want to do, participating in a world that was created originally by men. Men have tried to, free themselves of their own limitations, so participated more in the house, in cooking and cleaning, and all the kind of traditional things that were done by women. Men have tried now to be more involved in the family. And that's good. Now, the reason that we wrote this book, Conscious Men, which is what I'm referring to, what I was referring to there, is that unraveling the gender stereotypes, I agree, is a really good thing. But if we become completely oblivious to differences in biology, the result is that, at least I can say for men can become confused, disoriented, lack connection with something deeper in themselves. And the same can happen for women in a different way. Now, whatever we think about gender stereotyping, I'm sure we agree that men and women, there is a meaning to the word. 1,999 babies are born with clear gender difference. 1 in 2,000 babies are born with ambiguous genitalia, genital sexuality. But most people are born clearly a man or a woman. And we know that physically that means a man has a penis, a flat chest, hair on his face after puberty, etc. Women, we understand breasts, vagina, ovaries. But it's not only these biological differences. I think everyone's aware also that there are hormonal differences. A woman has a menstrual cycle once a month. She has much more estrogen in her body. She restores stress through the release of oxytocin. Men have very little oxytocin, some. Men, on the other hand, restore stress through the release of testosterone rather than oxytocin. And testosterone has a particular cycle. And it's because of men feeling good with testosterone that a lot of this destruction has happened, because men want to go out and do things and accomplish things, and often it makes a mess. So that's really our point in writing this book, is we don't want to support gender stereotyping, but we do want to support people to understand their biology and to realize, as a woman, you're operating a body that runs on certain hormones. As a man, I'm operating a body that runs on certain hormones, and it's important to understand how stress is alleviated differently in men and women, in our opinion. Now, you may or may not agree with any of that, but that's our point, not to reinforce stereotyping, but to understand biology. Some of what you say on your website and your publications is interesting. Well, thank you for that. And may be applicable in the collective world experience, yeah? However, your view of women is ridiculously short-sighted and intuitively bankrupt. Anne, I'm not sure how deeply you've dived. I'm sorry to hear you say that. I hope that that is not quite as true as you think. I hope you might be able to look a little deeper, but who knows? There is only one relationship in which a man can expect the kind of understanding and support of which you write, the one that he has with his mother. Women no longer look for men who need mothering. Until men realize they cannot expect to recreate the mother-son relationship with their mates and spouses, I, for one, refuse to consider gender-based relationship as a serious option. Okay, well, not quite sure what you mean by that. It's only one model in an infinite number of models in which intimacy, mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, soulful, may be known. I agree with that. As my sympathies are clearly informed by this, etc. Okay, well, Anne, I think you've made your points very clear. I'm not quite sure what you mean about consider gender-based relationship. I am in a monogamous relationship with a woman. And really, that's all that I feel qualified to advise people about. I have some expertise and knowledge about how that works. I don't know so much about men-to-men intimate relationship. I mean, I have friends, but I'm not an expert on gay relationships for men and women. What I aim for, Anne, is that men and women can respect each other as having equally powerful gifts to give in the world, but can also have the intelligence to recognize that the body is shaped in a different way. The biochemistry runs differently, and therefore those gifts are different, not more important or less important, not to be given greater or lesser impact in the world, but different. And certainly when men and women relate with each other intimately, it's important to recognize that difference. But I also think that women can make the greatest contribution to our world in feminine ecology, in feminine leadership, in feminine spirituality, in all kinds of new evolving disciplines, when we recognize that the gift of the feminine is different, just as powerful, just as important, but different than the gift of the masculine, which is dominated for so long. I hope that clarifies things a little bit, and I really appreciate you taking the time to write, and I certainly will always read your missives to me if you choose to send them.